911, you need police, fire, or an ambulance?
There's people dead. We need people here. It looks like they shot each other, but I don't know. It doesn't. Just saw her dad laying on the floor.
Where was the pistol when you saw it?
It was in the pile of blood where they were laying.
I'm Michael Hoffman, digging deeper into that murder-suicide. Now, investigators tell us the couple, 31-year-old Jimsley Estime and 30-year-old Ketsy Alexis, lived together with their 3 kids and were in the middle of a divorce. And there is a documented history of domestic violence. It was around 5:30 on Monday night when Port St. Lucie police responded to Ensenada Terrace for a report of gunshots, finding the bodies of Estime and Alexis. Digging deeper, we're learning that the husband, Jimsley Estime, was arrested for domestic violence back in January and charged, but his wife declined to press charges and they were dropped. Police also confirmed that while the two still lived together, they were in the middle of getting a divorce, with Estime accused of infidelity.
Generally takes several tries before a survivor breaks off the relationship.
When a man thinks he's slick, that's when he starts moving sloppy. Girl Jimsley was out on that road, 2 counties over, with a whole situation. Driving truck and running more than just routes. And had the nerve, the absolute nerve, to be upset when Ketsy found out. She found every receipt she needed, called him while he was still out there, and told him flat that the marriage was done. Not, I'm upset. Not, we need to talk. Done. And this man with a situation in another county, went to WhatsApp with a death threat, written in Creole, like the language was going to be his legal defense. It was not. The police had to bring someone in just to translate his own threats so they could charge him, which they did in January. And then Ketsy signed a paper in February asking them to drop it. I already know some of you have thoughts about that, and we will get there. Because Ketsy Alexis tried every door available to her, and he just kept showing up on the other side. 3 months after that paper was signed, she was gone. This is her story. To the outside world, Ketsy Alexis and Jimsley Estime had it together. 7 years of marriage. A house on Southwest Ensenada Terrace, Port St. Lucie, Florida. 3 children. A husband with a truck driving income, gone a few days at a time, home between runs. Looks good on paper. But Ketsy knew what nobody else saw. The violence had been there since she was pregnant with their first child. Quiet, unreported, undocumented. No police reports. No proof. She stayed. The way a lot of women stay, because the situation is more complicated than it looks from the outside. She had children. She had a job. She had a life she was holding together. And walking away from all of it is never as simple as people make it sound from the comfort of their couch. And Jimsley? He was on the road. A lot. Long hauls. Different counties. Different everything. The distance worked for him in more ways than one. He had built himself a very comfortable life. The one at home, and apparently, the one on the side. The thing about living double like that is you start to believe you're untouchable. You stop being careful. You get sloppy. And that is always where it falls apart. September 6th, 2025. Jimsley was out of town on a run when Ketsy found what she found. The evidence of the affair. An individual residing outside of St. Lucie County, as police would later put it, which is the most professional way anyone has ever described a whole road trip situation. She didn't sit on it. She called him right then, while he was still out there, and told him she was filing for divorce. Now, a reasonable man, at this point, might say okay, or I understand, or at minimum, nothing at all. Jimsley went to WhatsApp, sent her death threats, in writing, in Creole, with the full confidence of a man who either didn't believe she'd go to the police or genuinely did not care. He told her he would kill her if she went through with the divorce. And when she said she was calling the authorities anyway, he told her, and I want you to hold this for a second. He told her he was not afraid of prison. 5 days later, on September 11th, Ketsy walked into the Port St. Lucie Police Department and told them everything. For the first time, everything. The violence going back years. The threats over WhatsApp. She gave them all of it. The responding officer handed her a domestic violence packet, a victim's rights packet, and suggested she leave the home for her safety. Ketsy said she couldn't. Not with the children, not with her job. The officer noted it, told her to call 911 if anything escalated, and then the department brought in an employee to translate Jimsley's messages. Because he had written his death threats in Creole, and those words said exactly what they said in any language. January 18th, 2026. A warrant was approved. January 26th. Jimsley Estime was arrested for written threats to kill, and then February 5th arrived. Ketsy walked back into that station and signed a non-prosecution affidavit. She asked for the charges to be dropped, said she did not wish to testify, did not want to pursue prosecution, and just like that, the case was gone.
Generally takes several tries before a survivor breaks off the relationship.
That is not a simple answer, and it does not deserve a simple reaction. What Pam O'Brien is describing is the reality of what domestic violence actually looks like from the inside, and what it costs the people living it. Ketsy was not careless. She was not naive. She was a woman managing an impossible situation. And the legal system can only protect you as far as you let it. She made her call in February, and Jimsley had 96 days to show her it was the right one. He did not use them well. April 2026. Divorce proceedings were already in motion. The marriage was ending on paper. And Jimsley and Ketsy were still under the same roof on Southwest Ensenada Terrace. Which, if you know anything about how these situations go, is exactly where things get most dangerous. Not when it starts, when it's ending. Monday, May 11th, 2026. Around 5:30 in the evening. The younger children were inside the house when it happened. They were there for all of it. The oldest child came home from school that afternoon, walked through the front door, found the younger ones upset and crying inside, then walked into the kitchen. Both parents were on the floor. The pistol was in the blood between them. She didn't call 911 directly. They called a family member, and that is the voice on that tape.
911, you need police, fire, or an ambulance?
There's people dead. We need people here. It looks like they shot each other, but I don't know. It doesn't. Just saw her dad laying on the floor.
Where was the pistol when you saw it?
It was in the pile of blood where they were laying.
Nobody who loved Ketsy Alexis should have had to make that call. Nobody should have had to describe that kitchen. And those children should not have come home to that house. Port St. Lucie Police responded to the 2700 block of Southwest Ensenada Terrace and found both Ketsy and Jimsley deceased in the kitchen. A firearm recovered at the scene. Officer Brittany McNally issued the official press release the afternoon of May 12th.
It was around 5:30 on Monday night when Port St. Lucie police responded to Ensenada Terrace for a report of gunshots, finding the bodies of Estime and Alexis.
Investigators classified it as an isolated murder-suicide, though the case remained active and ongoing. The children were removed from the home and placed safely with family. People in their community started a GoFundMe. Search Ketsy Alexis Port St. Lucie directly on GoFundMe.com if you want to help. The September 2025 incident report, the January arrest warrant, the February affidavit. All of it was already in that file. The paper trail existed. The documentation was there. And the outcome was still the same. That is the part that should keep all of us up at night. There was no trial. There was no sentencing. No courtroom. No verdict. No justice on a bench. Jimsley Estime made sure of that. The only time he ever stood before the law was January 26th. And 10 days later, Ketsy herself asked them to release him. The system had one window to hold him accountable, and she closed it. Not because she was wrong, because she was trying to survive in the only way that felt possible to her at that moment. That is what this case is really about. And that is the conversation worth having in the comments. Ketsy Alexis was 30 years old. She had 3 children, a job she showed up to, and 7 years of a marriage she held together longer than most people could have. She went to the police when she had never gone before. She gave them the evidence. She cooperated. And then she made a decision that from inside that situation probably felt like the only way to buy enough peace to find a way out safely.
Oftentimes, the perpetrator continues to stalk them or try and convince them to come back into their lives. Sometimes the perpetrator will threaten them where they feel they need to go back.
That is the trap. Not the naivety. The trap. The way men like this make leaving feel more dangerous than staying, until staying becomes the thing that ends everything. Ketsy was not a cautionary tale. She was a woman working with what she had, inside a system that can only do so much when the person it's protecting keeps the door open. The children are with family. The GoFundMe is there if you want to help them. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Call or text, 24 hours, free and confidential. If any piece of this story felt familiar, even a small piece, that number is for you. Ketsy Alexis deserved more than what happened in that kitchen. Say her name.